Let's talk about Rainbow Six Siege. Right now, one of the world's biggest online games is in the middle of a full-blown crisis. We're talking about a complete meltdown that has plunged the entire game and its massive community into total chaos.
So, what happens when a game just breaks? I mean, really breaks. Imagine you log into a game you've poured hundreds, maybe thousands of hours into, right? But today, everything is just wrong. The rules are gone, the economy's a joke, and your account is doing things that just shouldn't be possible. Well, this isn't some hypothetical. For Siege players, this is exactly what's happening right now.
It all kicked off on social media, of course. Alarms started going off everywhere. And look, this wasn't your usual server lag or a simple outage. Big names in the community started connecting the dots, and the word they were using? It wasn't glitch, it wasn't bug. The word was breached.
And then things got wild. The reports started pouring in, and they sounded completely insane. Players were logging on and finding their accounts were totally transformed. We're talking about a ridiculous amount of in-game money, items that are literally only for the game's developers, and some of the rarest skins in Siege history just appearing out of nowhere.
As the chaos just grew and grew, the community's reaction was, well, pretty blunt. This quote right here sums it all up perfectly. The game as they knew it was, for all intents and purposes, just completely broken. So what in the world was actually happening?
All right, let's get into the specifics of this absolute anarchy, because this was way more than just a server problem. We're talking about the game's fundamental systems just completely falling apart.
Let's just start with this number. 2 billion, not million, billion R6 credits. You know, the currency you have to buy with actual real-world money, an amount that would cost an absolute fortune to get legally. For the players who got this, the entire game economy was just instantly meaningless.
And it wasn't just the credits. Oh no, the weirdness was everywhere. Billions of renown, the stuff you actually earn. Thousands of alpha packs just showing up. And here's where it gets really crazy. People were getting developer-only skins. I mean, items you are literally not supposed to be able to own, ever. Not to mention the super rare Glacier skins from way back in the first year. A huge status symbol. And on top of all that, the ban system itself was going haywire. People getting banned and unbanned randomly. And the public ban feed was apparently hijacked to show weird messages. Total anarchy.
So the game's in a free fall. Players are freaking out. What does Ubisoft do? What's the official response when you've basically lost complete control of your own game?
Well, this is where things get interesting, because we ended up with two very, very different stories about what was going on. Ubisoft's version, and what players were actually seeing with their own two eyes.
Okay, so here's the official word from the Rainbow Six Siege account. Pay close attention to the language here. They call it an incident. That's it. It's so calm, so corporate, no mention of a hack, no mention of a breach. If you didn't know any better, you'd think it was just a little server hiccup. But while they're calling it an incident, their own official status page was painting a completely different picture. Look at this. It's just a sea of red. Outage, outage, outage. This isn't an incident. This is a full-blown, system-wide catastrophe. Everything was down.
So you see the problem, right? You've got this huge disconnect. Ubisoft is saying incident, while players are looking at their hacked accounts and saying, no, this is a breach. It really felt like the company was more worried about PR than acknowledging that their game was on fire.
And that, understandably, led to some serious backlash. The biggest question from the community was a pretty simple one. Why on earth were the servers left online for so long? For hours, people were still logging in, getting their accounts messed with, all while the front door to the game was just left wide open. Okay, so this mess puts the players, the actual people who play the game, in a really tough spot. They were caught right in the middle, stuck between a hack and a hard place, where pretty much any move felt like a bad one.
Yeah, trusted voices in the community, like the streamer King George here, basically telling everyone to run for the hills. His message was simple. Just stay away, don't even log in, and definitely don't spend any of that weird currency you might have because it could get you banned later on.
Now, to really get why players were so worried, you gotta understand this term, account rollback. Basically, it's like a big undo button for the whole server. Ubisoft could just decide to reset everyone's account back to a point in time before all this madness started. The huge problem with that? It could also erase any legit progress you made. Any skins you bought, any ranks you earned, poof, gone.
So this created a whole bunch of fears for the average player. It's like, okay, do I spend this free money and maybe get banned for life?
Or do I just sit here and risk losing all the stuff I actually worked for in a rollback? And wait a minute, is my personal account info even safe anymore? The biggest fear was getting punished for a problem that was absolutely not their fault.
And since Ubisoft wasn't giving any clear advice, the community basically had to come up with its own emergency plan. And the advice was the same everywhere you looked. Just don't touch the game. Stay offline. Don't log in. Don't spend anything. Just wait for the all clear from the company.
So where do we go from here? Getting the servers back online is one thing, but rebuilding trust with the community, that's going to be a much, much tougher job.
Right now, as of this recording, Rainbow Six Siege is still completely offline, worldwide. That outage status we saw earlier, still in effect. Nobody can play. The game is essentially on life support.
And while the game is dark, the questions from the community are just getting louder. People want answers. They want transparency. Was our data compromised? What actually caused this? How are you going to fix it? And, most importantly, how are you going to make sure that innocent players don't get punished in the cleanup?
And really, as this quote points out, the lack of communication has just made everything worse. It's fueling all this frustration, because at this point, just calling it an incident really doesn't cut it anymore.
Which brings us to the big, lingering question. Sure, you can restart the servers. That's a technical fix. But can you reboot trust? That's the real challenge for Ubisoft. When this game eventually comes back online, they won't just be flipping a switch on a server. They'll have to figure out how to restore the faith of millions of their players.